guys, it's Kate and I hope you're having a wonderful day today. I am back with another watercolor techniques video, and this one's going to be involving charcoal, and I've got several kinds here and a little paper laid out, and we'll also do a painting. But charcoal is one of those things that is wonderfully blendy, wonderfully messy, and you can get some interesting effects in watercolor. Now, I have a few different kinds of charcoal here that I use for drawing, and I want to go through and see how each of them look and react with watercolor. So first I'm going to start with willow charcoal. So willow charcoal is made from the twigs of willows, and it's a very light, soft charcoal. And don't let the darkness of it fool you. It actually is a very interesting mid-tone charcoal, and it blends really beautifully on paper. I've got a blending stump here, and you can even get more blending effects. Now, just be careful with your watercolor that you kind of go easy. You can make certain marks that are kind of destructive to your paper, so it may affect your painting if you do too much hard blending, but it is an option. So what I'm going to do is make a mark with it there, and I'm going to grab my flat watercolor brush and I'm going to mix up some color. I might just go with the same Viridian green, but I'm not going to make too dark of a mix because I want you to be able to see how this is affected by the charcoal. So I'm going to get it wet and kind of drag it out a bit. And you can see it doesn't really have a lot of movement, but for certain colors, like this lemon yellow, you can get some interesting textures, and sometimes it will move depending on how much you have on your paper, and sometimes it won't. But you can add a watercolor wash over charcoal and have kind of some interesting textures. So next up, I've got a compressed charcoal stick. This one is hard. Harder is basically lighter in the scale of charcoal, where soft charcoal would be your darkest value. So I've got a hard stick here. Like you can see, it gets really messy. And I'm going to make another line here. Now, compressed charcoal will not blend as lightly as willow. It doesn't matter how much I write with the willow charcoal, it's going to basically be a mid-tone once I blend it in. However, compressed sticks, they can maintain a lot of darkness like you see here. And the soft would be even darker than that as a value. Now, if I make a line there, and then go over it with my flat brush, I'm going to pick up some more color and drag this out, and I'm using the same Viridian mix. You can see it spreads a lot more in the paint here, and it really kind of darkens the color, almost makes it look a little bit dingy, and it sort of tones down that color. You can see there's a definite difference in the hues. Now, same thing if I go in with this lemon yellow. I'm going to grab just a little bit more. All right, and it will do the same thing to that yellow. It's going to be very darkened. Now, next up, I have two different kinds of charcoal pencils. So this is a General's charcoal, and this is charcoal in a wood pencil. You can use it like any other pencil. These ones I got recently from Michael's to try out, and these are woodless charcoal pencils. So it has like a painted coating on the outside. You can use it with a pencil sharpener the same way, but the nice thing about these is the whole thing is charcoal. So If you're wanting to shade from the side, for instance, you can do that pretty easily with these, and it just goes a long way. I've really been enjoying playing with these, especially in my art journal. You can make some really neat marks, but I'm going to use both of these. So I have soft, which is going to be the darkest, and then I'm going to go in for a medium, and we'll do some marks with that here. So I'm going to do medium here, and you get a nice line just like you get with the compressed stick. And then I'll go in with my soft General's pencil, and we'll have those marks there. So next I'm going to take my finger and just blend these both out. You can see that medium charcoal pencil has some blend, but not a ton. The General's blends a little bit more, and that makes sense because it is a darker pencil. It's softer charcoal. Okay, next I'm going to come back in with the medium and come back in with the soft and make some paint marks, and so you can see that as well. We add a little bit more color here and a little bit more water and get that mixed up. All right, let's do this pencil first. And like you can see, not a ton of effect, but some. And then on the soft pencil, there's a little bit more of that coming out. And I'm just going to blot my brush and keep dragging. And you can see it is slightly darker. But by far, the compressed stick has the most effect. Now, something kind of neat you can do is use some of these blending properties over already dried paint, but actually I forgot to do my yellow, so let me just get that on there first. So this will be the medium, and you have some movement. It's definitely dingier than the yellow up here. And then let me get this other side done. This is the soft Generals, and the yellow there is a little bit more dingy still. Okay, now for this bottom, I'm going to draw just some shapes. So this would be with the woodless charcoal. This would be with the compressed charcoal. And this will be willow. And I'm just going to note that here. So what you can do that's kind of nice is do almost like a drawing over a watercolor wash. And so you can grab a Q-tip, you can grab a blending stump, whatever you like. I'll start with a Q-tip here and we'll see how that kind of blends in. But you can get some nice kind of soft looks. You can make shadows just like you would on drawing paper, except that you're doing it over color. And you can go back in for more layers, but you have a nice blending effect there. Now I'm going to kind of flip my Q-tip over and work on blending this one. Now you can see with the compressed, you get a lot more mileage on that blend. And then we have the willow, which is going to be a lot softer. It's not going to leave as much texture behind as these two. And it's going to blend into a very nice mid-tone. And let me hold this up so you can see. Okay. And this is on watercolor that has dried. Now I'm going to wipe that drop off my paper. You can see I've been wiping off my fingers. It does get messy, so it's handy to keep a baby wipe nearby just to keep your fingers clean so you don't get it anywhere where you don't want it already. So if I wanted to basically make something, so I'm going to make a leaf shape with my willow charcoal, and I'm going to make a leaf shape with my woodless, just one stroke for each one, and I'm going to make a leaf shape with my compressed charcoal. And so this is willow, pencil, and compressed. And this is just so I remember when we're going to do all the close-ups. Okay, so if I get a brush, let's grab this. And I'm going to go right over that willow charcoal. And you can see that gets very dark, much darker than that color we had on the paper, but you get some very interesting shading going on here, and it could be used for a bit of a variation on line and wash, as long as you understand that it's going to give your watercolor kind of an almost dirty look. So it may lend itself a lot better to some darker colors, or if you want to have just kind of muted colors for your washes, it could be very interesting. Let me go into the charcoal pencil one. Now I'm just kind of activating it around the edge, and you can see it definitely has a similar look. Now this line stays a lot more intact than this one. This one tends to spread out a little bit more because that willow is very soft. Okay, now we'll do the compressed, and this is going to be the darkest of all. And this is the hard compressed as well, so it will definitely activate with a very strong black outline, and if you were to use soft compressed charcoal, it would be darker still. And I'm mopping a lot back, but I really want you to see how that outline looks. And of all of these, the most green one is this one here on the left, even though the differences are kind of subtle. And so I'm going to hold this up so you can see. So I'm going to do a quick painting so you can see how somebody might use this with their abstract art. I'm here with my quill brush, my spray bottle of water, my Marie's Masters palette, and my New York Central cotton paper. And I'm going to start out by spritzing it a little bit with this spray bottle, and it's not getting the whole surface wet, it's more just depositing some drops on this. Now I'm going to mix up some color. I think I'd like to work with the indigo today, and maybe some burnt sienna or something like that. I want to have kind of a neutral palette. So I'm going to come in here first, and you can see the color just kind of getting picked up by those water droplets and spreading out, which I think is a really beautiful look. And so I'm just going to gently run my brush around and let that the droplet pattern pick up moisture from my brush, just like that. Now I'm going to go into this burnt sienna, and I'm just going to mix this with what I've got left in my palette here, and I'm going to do the same thing and just let this come together. And I'm looking at my paper, and I just want to have some fun areas of color and texture, and something that we can kind of just start working with once it dries, and do some other types of mark making, maybe some doodles, something like that. But I'm going to go sort of heavy with this, I guess, and we'll just see where this takes us. I really like this so far. It's just very organic looking. Okay, I think I want to add a lighter color. I'm going to go for this raw sienna right here. And it's kind of staying with the neutral theme a little bit, but it's going to be a little bit lighter. And so I'm just going to add this in a few spots and let it blend together with that other color on the page. And I'm going to come back in again with my indigo, I think, because I want to kind of make that a little bit more the star of the show. And I'm going to blot my brush here and just mop up a little bit of this extra moisture that is kind of pooling at the edges. Just like that. Okay, let me go back into my indigo. And darken up some of this and let it spread out. And I'm going to have this come straight up right through here and let it trail into the edges. And I might add a little bit of water here in the corner to let that come out even more. And I'm just kind of bringing up my brush at certain points so that it kind of deposits color there. And I'm going to let some more come out here into the sides, just like this. And I'm just letting this come together. I'm joining up some of the spots that I think it looks better, but it's really just play. I'm going to let this dry and come right back. All right, I'm back and I'm going to go into my burnt sienna, which is an orange, but not orange, if that makes sense to you. And I'm going to spritz this some more to add a second coat. And I'm just going to add some pops of this burnt sienna in some spots here. That's going to act almost like a glaze and also add some more depth to the color here. And I'm going to place this kind of strategically in just a few smaller areas around my painting, just to let some more detail kind of pop through, almost like we've got some veining going on, maybe if it's a little bit rusty. And I'm actually going to drop that or blot that back so it's not quite so in your face. And I'm just going to add just a few little spots, just like this. And I really love this. I'm blotting my brush and I'm gonna kind of wipe a few of these spots back just to take away some of that harshness. And then I'm going to go back into this indigo and get a little bit more depth here in some spots as well. I really want to pump up that darkness and get that contrast going. And I'm going to do it in a few of these spots that already have the indigo. And then we're just going to add that extra depth, like this. Almost reminds me of like a tree or something, but I think this is really beautiful. All right, we're going to give that one more dry. Okay, I'm back and I'm going to make some kind of random lines through my watercolor painting using my charcoal. And for the first one, I'm going to actually go in with my soft willow and I'm going to add a mark right along my ruler so I can make sure to get a straight edge. And I'm going to come up maybe here and come in with another line, and we're going to make this kind of organic. So I'm going to come over here almost like we're going to make a close to a triangle, and we're going to really pump up the contrast on here so you can see I'm just kind of following my ruler and placing these lines where they seem interesting. And I'm doing a thicker line in some spots, and willow tends to go down really quickly, so you may feel like you're going through your willow stick really fast. These are so much fun to use though. So I just kind of go over, and I've got some interesting marks out here, and I guess X marks the spot. I'm going to put in one more mark, maybe right here, but I want it to face this way, I think, and maybe intersect these two a little. So I'm going to put it right there. And I like that. So I'm going to put my ruler aside and I'm going to go in with, let's see, I'm going to try my blending stump a bit, and I'm going to come around to one side of each one and just kind of blend it out a bit. And you can see where I'm just kind of slowly and gently pulling it toward the right, and it's going to make a bit of a soft shadow. And I'm going to let that come all the way to the end of the paper. And you can just see it's got this really nice, gentle look. And so this one, let's have it come this way. So I'm going to do the same thing and just slowly blend this out with my stump. Now, when you're working with charcoal over watercolor, you just need to keep in mind that charcoal, being the type of medium it is, this will not be permanent until you add some kind of fixative to the top of your painting. And just be careful if you're going to be brushing it in. It might be better to use a spray, because when you brush, as you know from the other video or from the other painting that we did, it can definitely have an effect with spreading where you don't want it to go necessarily. Let's do this one facing this way. And I really love how this is turning out. It just, the blending stump kind of softens that line, and we end up getting kind of a magical effect here. And we still end up with one very nice hard edge. I'm going to bring this one down, just like that. And I like how it picks up the texture of some of this paper also. All right, let's make this one face up. You can do anything you want. You can do circles or anything. And it's just a lot of fun. And let's have this one face out. And you can see how nice it is, adding that shadow texture, and it adds a lot of depth to our painting here. Now, what we can also do is, let's try going in with our hard compressed charcoal, and maybe we do a couple of these little circles kind of around a couple of, you know what, I'm going to do the pencil instead because it's going to be too hard to trace a circle using the square charcoal. So I'm just going to go around with my woodless charcoal pencil and add just a couple of circles. I'm going to choose a spot for them. Let's say we have one right here. Why not? And I'm just going to go around. And these will have not quite as a nice soft blend as you'll find with the willow charcoal. But these are really nice if you want that nice hard edge. And so I'll just go ahead and leave those 3 circles there, and we'll go back in with our blending stump. And I'm just going to kind of gently go around and start bringing that in. So I'm working on softening a little bit of this edge, and then I'm going to draw it in toward the center of the circle. Just like this. And you can see that hard line pretty much stays there. And I'm going to do it with this one as well. And that blending just really helps smooth it out, and you won't get rid of all the texture, especially if you're working on watercolor paper, just because the paper itself, especially if it's cold pressed, the paper will have, you know, texture on it already. It'll be a little bit rougher. So I really love how this is turning out so far. You know what I think we need is, this whole thing is kind of dark. We could really use some sparkle. So I think we should go into our gold ink. All right, I've got my gold ink. I'm just gonna squirt a couple of little drops out onto my palette. This stuff, I don't know, it's magical. It lasts forever too. I've gone through half the bottle and I've used it I don't know how many times, but we're not doing a video on gold ink, so I'm going to go in with my stylus this time, and I'm going to add some dots here. And I'm going to make sure to get some of them over the dark charcoal, and I'm just going to kind of quickly go through here. And I'm letting some of these come off the edge of the painting as well, so that we can get, they won't be just sort of trapped in there, if that makes sense. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to kind of stick to one side, but I'm going to add just a few little dots like that. And I really love that look. I'm wondering if I want to add any circles as well. And you know what I think? It never hurts to add a couple. So I'm going to just grab my handy dandy little plastic piece. You can see I've done a lot of dips with this thing, but it leaves a really nice look. And so I'm going to go in the center of each of these 3 charcoal circles, and that will brighten those up a bit if I can get this out. And sometimes you get that bubble that goes across here, and so it left kind of a nice little mark there that I really like. I wonder if I can get another one here. Nope, it just wasn't in the cards for me. So this painting back here is dry. So I'm going to give you a close-up of this first. You can see the differences in our charcoals, hardnesses, how they blend, and everything here. And you can do some pretty interesting things. However, I really like using it over watercolor that's already dried. And we use several techniques on this painting today, and I think it turned out beautifully. I love that sparkle that really brings that brightness back in with all the darkness. I like the geometric shapes and the interesting composition. So I hope this gave you some ideas on how you can use some charcoal in your watercolor paintings, and I hope you enjoyed this video today. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. It helps more people see this video, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And until next time, keep creating.